Okay, so for my skin complexion routine, I usually start off priming my face. Prime my face using this first. So I put that just a little bit because I feel like it makes my foundation last longer as well. So I do that. Then I do my foundation first. I don't like in this step, you would like, if you want to like color correct, that's when you do it, but I usually don't color correct. Yeah, I feel like it's not too bad. Yeah, and I don't really have much to cover up, but I would say like if you're having that a lot of a discoloration, then you can go ahead and do that step first. So I'm gonna skip that because I don't need to do that. So I'll be going in with my foundation, and I'm using the Becca full coverage concealer in the shade is Mink. So I usually start off with 2 pumps. So it depends, so you can use like a medium to full coverage if you want to get that total like coverage and still not look like you have a lot on, right? Because some people think when you use full coverage foundation, it makes your face look cakey. Not all the time, depends on how much you put on. So with me, I usually use 2 pumps. It's only when especially when I'm using full coverage, I just do 2 pumps because I feel like that's enough for me. But if I'm using medium coverage, I could do about maybe 4 pumps depending on the foundation. But with this one, I just usually do 2 pumps. So I usually go ahead before I put my concealer on, my highlight concealer on. I usually put this in this is a full coverage concealer. I put it right in my cheek area here because I know I have a little bit of I won't want to call it a scar, but you know, I have a little bit of thing there that I usually like to cover. So with this, I just put just a little bit because it's full coverage and it's the Makeup Forever full cover concealer. So I use this and I just put a little bit on right here and right here, just on that area, just to add a little bit more coverage. So with your foundation, you can choose to use a brush or a beauty blender. I'm just comfortable with a brush, and I like this kind of like flat but like slanted brush. So I use that and I just dab just right there. Then I go in and I use my concealer, and I'll be using the Too Faced Born This Way concealer in shade Chestnut. So with my concealer, I usually like to spread it around, so it just depends on how you like to put your concealer. I just like to like do mine this way. I usually bring it down all the way to my top lip there. I love this concealer, it's my favorite one. I put on my chin. Right there. Just place that you want to brighten up. That's basically what it is. So I got this tip from Jackie Aina, so I've been doing that and I really love it. So I'm just gonna wait for this to dry. So to make that faster, I'll be using this just to dry that a little bit, because I feel like it stays longer and it just gives a different finish, and I like that finish. So I've been doing that since the first time I tried it. So usually what I do is that I do that, then I just go ahead and do my brows, but I just did my brows on now so I can get that over with because that could take me time. So I get a smaller brush like that. You can use a beauty blender as well. I am just a brush person, so Okay, so after I've done that, I also go ahead and I take a lighter concealer as well. So I'm using the Urban Decay and it's dark neutral. Just a little bit like with this one it's a different undertone, but it's slightly lighter as well. So that I just put right in the inner corner here. I don't like put it all the way like I put my first concealer, so I just put it in the corner here and on my nose. So I just do that, and I also wait for this to dry as well. And I drag it right along there. I usually don't bring it down. I just put it right in my eye, under my eye there. Then I go on, then I take my foundation brush, then I just dab all the way. Just to blend it a little bit more. With nothing on it, just the brush. So the next thing I do is I take my cream base contour. I don't do this all the time. Sometimes I do this, but for this video, since I'm doing a full coverage, I'm gonna use a cream contour. So with my contour, I just like to just do a little bit, pointing towards like the mouth there. Depends on the shape of your face, but I just do that just a little bit. I don't bring it all the way down because when I'm blending I do that. Then I take my brush. So since I'm using this dense brush, I like to spray it. Then I kind of like dab, but I'm pushing upwards. So I just go up because I don't want to come below this line here that I made, right? So I just go up and I bring it down, but up. So you can see that. So it depends on how you want your contour to be, right? So if you want it to be more like pronounced, you put more, or you go darker. But with me, because I still put a bronzer right on like my contour area, I use a bronzer as well. So I don't like to go too much on my cream contour. Sometimes I don't even use my cream contour. Most times I don't, but I'll be doing it today. So we go up and down motion, up and down motion. So I usually put a little bit still on my jaw area here, just to cover that, because it can be sharp. It can be sharp, so I do that. I do a little bit on my forehead there. I usually, this step you can skip, but yeah. So I just usually do it because I feel like it kind of comes together and make my center face brighter. So that is why I do that. So with my nose, I don't really do much on nose contouring because sometimes I don't know, I like my nose the way it is, I guess, but I usually don't do it. But I'm just gonna do a little bit today of the nose contouring. Okay, so next I'll be going in with translucent powder, and I will be using the Laura Mercier translucent powder, the lighter shade one. So I usually don't bake anymore. Like I sweep it all over my face with a brush. Basically, that's what I do now. Do that there. Dust that off there. So that's just gonna makes my contour look sharper. Like there. Then for my nose, I do let it stay a little bit longer on my nose. Just so, because I still go over and I use the bronzer to contour my nose. So I like to let the translucent powder sit a little bit longer on my nose. Do my forehead there. Then what I do next is that I go with my complexion shade powder. It's the Bare Mineral in shade Chai 26. So it's just like that, just my complexion shade. Take a big brush there and I just sweep it. Not too much. Just right there. And trust me, with all this on, it doesn't even feel like I have anything on. Like, it doesn't feel cakey or anything like that. So that, this I don't put under my eye because I still want it to be bright. Put this, my neck here. I use my bronzer, and for my bronzer I use the Anastasia one in Mahogany. I put that. This I use by itself most times. So since I already have that, and I don't really like my contour to be too much, I'm just gonna put a little bit since I've used the cream base already. So I'm just gonna do just a little bit. Then I always like to swipe up, like go up, always go up. And start here. We put most of the product here and you just sweep up and down motion. Up and down. Then I do my forehead a little bit, not too much. Join it to the side of my head there. Do my jawline. Basically places that I put the cream contour, I do this for. So I do my jawline there. Then I do my nose. Like usually I could use a smaller brush, but I do go for a big brush first, then I do a smaller brush. If it doesn't look good enough for me, then I use like a smaller brush. But most times this is what I do. I still take my contour brush and I just sweep it on there. So this is the reason why I kind of leave the powder, like the translucent powder, on my nose, because I do use a bigger brush. So when I do that, it kind of mixes and doesn't make it too dark, if you get what I mean. And this is more like my everyday blush. I use the Bobbi Brown Brightening Brick and Cranberry. So I just like sweep across it, especially on the lower ones. I don't usually go up, I just do the lower one. So I always start from outer to inner because I want it to look like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, was it transitional? Always helps. Next I go with my highlighter. So I use basically two different kind of brushes depending. So for today I'll be using this highlighting brush here. I'm not going to be using the fan brush. So I'm just, you can just, any highlighter you like works. I'm using the Maybelline highlighter. So just a little bit. So with this one, you could take a little bit more. So when I dab it on, I just take the excess off. Then I just sweep it right there. So I usually put my brush in the center first, then I just go up and down with motion. Yeah, just like that. Shabam. Shabam. Dab on a little bit. Just put right there. Yep, just right there. And I take my highlighting brush without any like product on, and I just sweep it right up on my nose there. So it just has like the leftover from the sides there. So I'm just gonna spray. Yes, and this is, we'll just wait for that to dry. Dry. Okay, so this is it. If you want to get the full coverage look, your foundation, this is how I get mine. And just let me know if the steps work for you, and I'll be back. I'll get my eyes and my lips done so you can see everything. Okay, so I'll be right back. The finish complexion there. So as you can see, it's full coverage, and I think it looks good. What do you think? So so that's how I do my complexion. Not all the time, but when I want a full coverage, this is how I do it. And yep, this is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just you can comment below on looks you want me to recreate and do a tutorial on, and that would be great. So remember to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and I will see you in my next video.